Good afternoon and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. And now, Mr. Davis.
Welcome, welcome to my precious guests who I love. I love the ones that call and agree with me, and I love those as much or even more who disagree with me because I learn more from them than the ones that agree with me. So I get a chance to think about what they say. Anyway, I hope we made the 6:30 time, which I promised. But being Jewish, it, we rarely get there on time. As a matter of fact, in Israel, they announce the time on radio. At the signal, the time will be exactly 6 o'clock, or maybe 10 after 6. So this is really the earliest I've ever been late, if indeed I've been late. But I promised and I planned, and I look forward to talking about the oil situation, the energy situation, the environmental situation. But before I even address what I plan to talk about and have you uh, join the discussion about the oil situation in the world, and particularly in the United States, and the environmental impact of that oil situation, I feel I have to say something about the event, the tragic event, the shooting in Uvalde, uh, Texas yesterday. I can't believe that the Congress, this government, hasn't addressed that issue. It happens every we lose 109 people a day to gun shootings, to gun firings, to gun attacks, and and we are the most uh, vulnerable country in the world, or our citizens are, our children are, our school children are, our teachers are the most vulnerable to gun destructions, to massive assaults than any country in the world. It's so tragic that we're the richest country in the world, and we use that to purchase more guns than any other country in the world. We have more than 350 to 400 million guns out in the public in this world, not including military guns or police department guns. It's more that we only have 330 million people, so we have more than one per person. It's it's hard to believe that after what happened in Connecticut when 20 young children, little kids, were shot to death, massacred, way back in, I think it was 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, and the two teachers were killed, and we did nothing about it. And each time one of these assaults, massive killings occurs, we say, well, we got to address it. We got to do something about it. The general public, the population of the United States, is overwhelmingly in favor of some kind of gun control. 91% are in favor of checks. What do you call those checks? What? Background checks. And and over 80% are in favor of eliminating assault weapons. Assault weapons are military weapons. They shoot about 50 bullets in a half a minute or a minute. And there's no reason why anybody would need that for any purpose at all. It's used in the military, by the military, to kill as many people as fast as they can. But there's no reason in the world why we should have those available to anybody. The fellow who did the killings, the 18-year-old that did the murders, the manslaughter yesterday, bought two assault weapons. You don't even need it for hunting. You don't want to attack an animal with an assault weapon. Interestingly, in the Jewish religion, you're not allowed to hunt at all because it's an unfair advantage, you with a gun against an animal. And worst part, we don't want to have them wounded and living with pain and suffering in case we don't kill them instantly. So, and for 10 years in the 90s, Congress, President did eliminate the availability. It was illegal to manufacture or sell assault weapons, but it had a sunlight, or it faded out because it was only approved for 10 years. And after that, it's never been re, re restarted or enacted, that law. And and so we keep on having endless slaughters. Interestingly enough, even after they say how terrible it is, after each shooting, especially after the Connecticut shooting of those little kids, the gun sales went up dramatically, and then following that massacre, because the NRA warned people, oh, now they're going to take away your guns. You better get them while you can get them. So they had a bonus. They had really it was a windfall for them. For the gun manufacturers, for the gun wholesalers, for the gun retailers. It's outrageous. Australia, just to give an example, what should be done or could be done to eliminate the loss of such valuable members of our society, such precious children and teachers, is what happened in Australia. In '93, they had a slaughter, mass slaughter, like the ones we have regularly, and instantly, without waiting, what's it? Without waiting, they introduced a law taking away everybody. You had no right to own a gun. They bought up everybody's guns, and in order to get a gun now in Australia, it takes about a year to get a gun, and you have to go through the police. I have callers waiting, so they're pushing me to take the calls. But I just want to point out that for 25 years since then, for a quarter of a century, a generation, they haven't had another mass slaughter. So it's time we did that. I'll get to the main issue, the oil issue. Well, I've already got some callers that apparently are interested in uh, attacking me already. Anyway, who's on? What's your name? Okay, I can't get a name, so I'll start talking about oil. As bad as it is with guns and our failure to act, and we supposedly care about life because we say the major thing of the not the 10th amendments, but the amendments.
Would you like to speak with Brett Kingson, who wants to talk to you both about guns and oil?
Who's it? Brett Houston?
Brett Kingston. You took his company.
Brett Kingston.
Okay, give us 1 second.
Sure.
I don't know where
Brett,
your calling is.
are you on?
Okay, you're right there. Give me 1 second to get back.
We care about life. As a matter of fact, the conservatives and most Republicans are for pro-life. And here we're letting innocent kids, just 1 second, we're letting innocent kids in classrooms get slaughtered in Florida only 2 weeks ago, in Buffalo and Yuba yesterday. So if we care about life, we should start caring about doing away with guns so universally. Yeah, Brett, go ahead. You're on. Brett?
Morty, how are you,
I'm
sir?
good. Thank you.
Good. Good to hear your voice. So real briefly, I'll comment on both two issues that you brought up. One is guns and the other one is oil. I disagree with you on the gun side of the argument, but on the oil side of the argument, I agree with you 100%.
Why do you disagree on the
owner.
guns? Why do you disagree on the about guns?
Because I think if you outlaw guns, the only people who are going to have guns are the outlaws. And I think
No. Australia took away all guns, and it takes a year to get a gun, and outlaws can't get them, and nobody else can get them. So that's ridiculous.
I beg to differ, Morty. You need to look at the crime statistics in Australia. There are still armed robberies even after that law went through.
You'll never eliminate totally armed robbery or somebody getting a gun, but it's way lower. And for a quarter of a century, following that mass slaughter, they haven't had another mass slaughter till I think maybe this year. 25 years, a quarter of a century.
Mass slaughter in New Zealand recently, Morty.
Yeah, and they likewise acted immediately, and you can't get a gun anymore in New Zealand. We're the only country in the world that allows this kind of wild.
With much affection, Morty, the founding fathers.
The founding fathers were wrong, and they weren't considering everybody carrying a gun. It said well-armed.
But look what happened.
The Constitution.
Defense of the country.
The Constitution says.
Defense of the country, Morty.
Brett, the Constitution said a well-armed militia, not every single person. And not only that, think of it. Think of it this way.
I have to differ.
Brett, let me tell you,
That's
Brett.
what the Second Amendment says.
Brett, they never imagined we'd have guns. They beat the British. We beat the British in the Revolutionary War with muskets that shot one bullet at a time and had to reload. It was nothing like the what do you call it? I hate to disagree with you because I love you, but I couldn't disagree with you more.
You can disagree with me, Marty, but on this point, I could tell you that if you disarm the American citizens, the only people who have guns will be outlaws. You can go to 42nd Street.
I'm happy if the only ones that have it is outlaws. I'm happy with that. I know there'll always be outlaws, and they'll always. It's ridiculous. You know what they say? The NRA says the only way to beat a guy with a gun is for everyone else to have a gun. There was a slaughter in Colorado. There was a good guy with a gun. There was a slaughter. Let me educate you. Let me enlighten you. There was a slaughter in Colorado. Wait, just a second. Let me finish this thought. Brett, let me finish this thought. Brett, let me finish this thought. Brett,
6 million in the Holocaust.
Brett, let me finish this thought. We shouldn't even have it for hunting. It's so horrid that we have it for hunting. It's not a sport; it's a killing. But anyway, they say they'll take away the guns from hunters. That was never going to happen. But I want to tell you about a good guy with a gun is the only way. A good guy with a gun is the only way. Can you let me finish?
Go ahead.
They had a slaughter in Colorado at a movie theater, and about 40 people were killed. And the NRA said, "Oh, If other people, if everybody in the theater had guns, that would have been, the good guys had guns. That would have been, he would have been killed instantly, which is nonsense.
And that's exactly what happened.
It would have been a total shootout, and 200 people would have got killed because even
Morty,
policemen that are trained never hit their targets, and nobody would know who's the gunman. And nobody would know who's the gunman. Okay, let's get on with this. I couldn't disagree with you more, but let's not continue with this.
All right, so we'll talk about something we agree on. Morty, oil. We have to be 100% self-sufficient in producing an oil and gas. We were under President Trump. President Biden and his
I don't agree with you with that.
Destroyed our independence.
Brett, that's the second thing I don't agree with you with.
We don't need to depend on Russia.
Brett.
We need to depend on the United States only as their supplier.
Brett.
Yes.
That's the second thing I totally disagree with you on. We shouldn't be dependent on oil at all. We should move as quickly as we can for alternative energy because oil.
We're not ready for that yet. We can't do that overnight.
Yeah, so but the answer is not to drill. The answer is not to drill. And the answer is not to drill, and to cause more pollution and more asthma and more deaths and more environmental. It's an existential issue. We're in danger of destroying the world by using that fossil fuel. That's poison. So I don't agree with you there at all.
We all stop driving cars. We all stop heating our homes.
Yeah, we should instead of subsidizing the oil companies, we should subsidize all the alternatives, especially electric cars that don't use any oil. Okay, it's nice talking to you, and I'm sorry we don't disagree on anything. I'll talk to you some other time, Brett. Thank you for the call.
All right, good luck, Morty.
Bye-bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Is there anybody else that wants to disagree with me anyway? It was a good call because he made some strong points, but I just don't believe that drilling for more oil is the answer. I want to see us subsidize everything.
Tom Lipscomb.
Who's this? Hello?
Tom Lipscomb. You took me.
Oh, Tom Lipscomb. Yeah. That's one of the geniuses. One of the geniuses I took public. How you doing, Tom?
Yep. I'm okay, sort of. I'm living near you in Lawrence.
Really?
I
come over and see me.
I wanted to get on.
How did you get stuck in Lawrence?
The question of oil is. What's that?
How did you get stuck in oil? Not in oil. In Lawrence.
I don't know. Are you still in Lawrence?
Yes. I was waiting for you.
Well, I'm in Woodhaven.
Oh, good. You got to come over and visit someday.
Remember, my company was called InfoSafe, and you took it public.
Yes.
You did a brilliant job. You did a secondary, and
well, you did a brilliant job. I just gave you the money. You did a brilliant job.
And I just wanted to say that I think your oil thing is absolutely 100% correct.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Thank you.
Because you didn't take it up in what I saw of yours.
Yeah.
Are we going into a recession or not? You're an analyst. You know this better than anybody. If we're going into a recession, does it make a difference in how we treat oil?
Actually, in terms of, they say one of the solutions, some of the economists say, many of the economists say, one of the solutions to our demand for oil, lowering the demand for oil, is a recession. Are we going into a recession? We're going into maybe a stagflation because we have inflation attributable. If I had published my last book, which I was ready to publish, but then my wife got very ill and passed away, and I was tied up with that, and then the pandemic.
I'm so sorry. She was so wonderful.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't deserve her, but anyway, I had 70 good years with her, so that was a miracle. You know, she was.
Well, the good Lord has gifted you with years beyond all imagining.
Yeah, but think of what she did, what he did to my wife. You know, when I
Well,
was
she did pretty well too. She can't complain. She lived a good long life.
let me tell you something. When I was 25, I had something called ulcerative colitis. And the doctor, she went to the doctor with me, and he diagnosed me. He told her, "I don't think your husband's going to make it to 30." She said, "Yeah, I was 25. I was 25 till 30. She figured she'll sweat it out." Once I hit 30, every morning she said, "Well, Morty, are you 30 yet?" So, and then she had to
Well, she got you.
suffer another
So I guess
64.
you're going for 130.
Anyway, she was marvelous, and I couldn't ask for anything better. And the family she built for me and around me, due to her teachings and everything, nobody's more blessed. So I can't.
Well, your family has indeed blessed you, and you blessed them back,
Yeah.
as well as people like me. You took public and created a public marketplace for what would have been otherwise private companies, and so I'm very interested. This oil crisis is a major thing, but the recession is pretty major as well. Does our unleashing American oil potentially make a difference in the recession's length of time?
Tom, we have to get off this addiction to oil. It's poisonous. It's fossil fuel that's gonna that constantly kills people. People get asthma. People get all kind of illnesses from that.
It's dirt cheap. We have lots of it.
The key point.
And I don't care if it's oil or wood or charcoal. It's cheap, and we have lots of it. Why do I want to get off it?
The key adjective you use there is it's dirt. It's horrendous.
Yeah,
it's horrendous.
Morty, God bless you, but you're not an expert on the climate change. Nobody is. I've never seen so many four-flushers of all sides, whether for climate change, against climate change. They're all a bunch of con men. Don't listen to them.
I listen.
Logic.
I don't listen to them. I look outside.
Wall Street analysts ever.
I check the weather, and we break every month, every year. We've broken the heat, the prior heat.
It's not your area of expertise. You're a great analyst.
No, I'm not an expert at all. But I listen to the greatest scientists in the world, the most recognized, the most acclaimed.
So, yeah, and they all disagree with each other, as they
don't disagree with each other. It's like the tobacco companies.
Of course they do.
The oil companies hire the scientists that say that. You remember the tobacco company?
The
remember
companies,
Tom?
Morty, everybody's selling their stuff.
Tom,
the oil companies are selling their stuff. The greenies are selling their stuff. But this is no surprise to you. You've seen this all your life.
Tom, do you remember the scientists that testified for the tobacco companies and said, "Oh, it's not a problem. We've researched it." This country is based on profits instead of happiness. You know, we said life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
You're right about that.
This country is life, liberty, and the maximization of profits and of GDP. You know, on a happiness scale, we're the richest country in the world. We should be the happiest, right up there with the happiest. It's said that Israel's number 10, and we're number 16, and going down.
Well, I think that's great, and I love the way you focus in on the values of people and the families, and you always have, and it's something I've always admired about you. I just wanted to check in with you and let you know that I saw what Allison sent me. I hope Allison's still there.
Yeah, I'm still there, and
God bless you.
Tom, I admire your brilliance as I always have. Thank you for the call, and I look forward to speaking to you often.
I love it. Thank you.
I love you. Bye-bye. Do we have anybody waiting? Otherwise, I'll carry on my monologue, or whatever. I like to have a discussion or a debate or learn from my audience. Hello? Is anybody on?
Hello,
Who's this?
Mort,
Yes.
Morty.
Yes.
Tommy Ranch. Tommy Ranch. First time caller, long time fan.
Thank you.
Um,
I finally got a fan.
You are an expert, just as I'm an expert. If we've lived on this planet for 20 plus years, and you've been a little longer and I've been a little longer, we are experts. We know there's been a change in the climate. It's not trickery going on. It's proven science. But I really kind of want to talk about guns.
But I just want to say one thing about that comment. I would say even if it's possibly not true, if there's a 10% chance that it's existential, that it's going to destroy the world and be devastating to my kids and grandkids and great grandkids, I'm willing to spend the money to make sure that doesn't happen to them. So I'm saying I believe it's totally dangerous and we're going to ruin the earth as a place that humans can live on. But at the very least, I want to make sure that I contribute and that I help avoid that if it's at all possible. Now, go ahead about oil.
I don't think it's a separate topic then either. The lack of control on being able to purchase a gun, right? I mean,
yes.
It's a different thing. It does affect our children. This is affecting our children. Literally, 18 kids were killed yesterday in Texas.
Yeah.
Not to mention the other disasters this week with guns.
You're right. And it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. Enough is enough.
But Congress doesn't seem to give a damn about it. And even though Biden is trying to get something passed, and not even anything, I think that NRA once said that they were in favor of background checks, but they avoid, and what's sad about this democracy is it's not a democracy because they don't enact what people want. They enact what the donors ask them to. So they give the money and it's run by the wealthiest people. The wealthiest people give all the money to the congressman to get him elected. So how could they not be responsive to them?
Right. So they're not listening to 80% of the country or more.
Right.
Proper checks before people can purchase a gun. You know, it's corrupt.
It's outrageous. Outrageous.
Yeah. Well, I know there's no argument here. I think I just want to. I'm happy to call in. I'll call in again.
Please do. Thank you.
It's really good to hear out there, and your voice is important. And you're a great conduit between the left and right.
Thank you so much. I've never been left or right. I've always been eclectic. I voted for Reagan and I voted for Clinton. I vote for the man, not the party. And I'm sorry to find out that we do so many things that are self-destructive.
Yeah.
Thank you for your call. Call again, please.
Hello, Morty?
Yes. Hello. Who's this? What's your name? Speak up louder. I can't hear you. Speak into the phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little better. Go ahead.
Okay. Milton Corners, nothing. Remember?
Yes, of course I remember. How could I forget? One of the nicest people I ever knew.
We haven't seen each other for a couple of years. Next time you're in Manhattan, let me know. We can go out for lunch.
All right, I'll send you a picture so we get to see you. Yeah, you can see me now.
So there's a program adjust tonight.
Pardon me?
Do you adjust tonight, or this is a program that you're on? Do you still have the same email address?
Do I still have one?
The same email address that you always
Yes,
had?
yes.
Okay. So
email you tomorrow.
Please do. And it's nice to hear from you. It's nice to hear that you're well and alive.
This I want to make is on climate. I never met anybody who ever discussed climate. I don't think most people are not even interested. They're only interested in food on the table, crime, and things like that. People don't care so much about climate. Anyway, it was nice speaking to you, and I email you, okay?
It's so nice to hear from you. Thank you, Milton.
Yeah, I'm going to send you an email. Good luck.
Thank you. We didn't have such a great connection.
Do my best for your kids.
I will. Thank you so much. Is there somebody else on or hello? Anybody else got any views or complaints or issues or contributions to make to this discussion? Otherwise, I'm gonna give you more of my views. Nobody's on? Okay. Here's what I want to say about oil. Before, hello, who's this?
Hi, this is Ethan.
Speak louder, I can't hear you. Speak into the phone and louder.
Ethan.
What?
Morty, I have a question for you about inflation. I just want to know what...
Just tell me your name. I just want to hear your name first. What's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan. Okay, go ahead. What do you want to know about inflation?
I want to know what you think the Fed's next step towards getting rid of inflation should be, and how you think the economy is going to look going forward.
Well, I think, in my earlier book that I didn't publish it, I'm going to publish it as volume 1, and then I'm going to do volume 2. The name of the first book was, What Would You Do If You Were King? And the reason I said, if you were king, that you wouldn't have to deal with Congress or the Senate or any of the political issues. So I wanted views of people, and I was going to give like prizes monthly and annually for the best suggestion, and I would turn them over to the president, whoever's president at the time, and the congressman. I didn't get a chance, as I said earlier, to publish the book because my wife got very sick, and then after that the pandemic came, but it addressed the 2008 situation. So now I'm updating it, and now the name of the book is What Would You Do If You Were King, the second edition, volume 2. What would you do if you were king, or what would you do if you were President Biden? And it addresses all these issues. But inflation, I think, unfortunately, Donald Trump made a terrible mistake by imposing tariffs, because the reason we had no tariffs for years is we had the whole Chinese workforce working for us. So there was never a shortage of workers. So they didn't have to raise, the corporations didn't have to raise taxes inordinately, because they had to induce people to join them. And more than that, we got every product that we needed that's in Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. If they don't get their products from China, they can close up. And that was counter-inflation. That was great. You know, Adam Smith said each one of us, the whole theory of capitalism was each one of us working in our own selfish interest produces what others need at the lowest price we can produce it at, so they buy it. And it goes the same with countries. We should be encouraging China to export their product to us, and we got enough work. You know, these days, the reason people want exports is to get their labor force, their population, their inhabitants to work, to get employed. Everybody wants full employment. So they sell us their product, which is great. But we got enough work for our employees for the next 100 years if they work to build up our tunnels, our bridges, our water systems, our electric grid, our schools, our housing for the poor people, for less well-off people. But we've got so much to do. we could keep them fully employed 24 hours a day for the next 50 or 100 years. Our bridges are falling down. They were built years ago. Everything that we have, the tunnels are outdated. The traffic, people, if you care about people's happiness and effectiveness, trucks that are getting paid, the truck drivers that are getting paid enormous sums, and they're burning oil and they're sitting in traffic, and individuals on the way to work and back from work are cursing the traffic and so forth. And there's no reason for that. But we built 7 million new cars a year, additional cars a year, above and what's traded in, and there's no equal, even close to additional roads or highways. So one day I expect that I'm going to call my wife, and she's gonna call me. She says, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm stuck in traffic." She says, "Well, where are you?" I say, "I'm still in my driveway," because the traffic keeps growing and growing and growing, and we do nothing about it. So we shouldn't have ever stop getting products from China. That was self-destructive. Uh, Trump uh, bragged about all the money we were getting back in tariffs, but those tariffs were being paid by the American people because the Chinese just charged more for the product. So it was ridiculous. Trump was an old friend of mine and always said how great he was. I don't like to criticize how great I was. He always says how great he is too. But he always told people behind my back how great I was, what a great guy I was. So I don't like to say anything negative about him. But he just doesn't grasp or understand economics. So he should take a course or learn from Paul Krugman or so many of the Nobel Prize winning uh, economists. Does that help you?
Yeah, I 100% agree with. I think tariffs are bad for everyone. I think on both ends of it, tariffs ended up, if you saw in the short run as well as in the long run, did hurt our economy in terms of the efficiency, in terms of the amount of the stock market went down immediately in all the areas that were tariffed, and it slows down the economy no matter what you do.
Yeah, Walmart sales and all the retailers' sales are down because they can't get the product at the price they formerly got it from, and people can't afford it, and they have to pay more. That's what causes inflation.
So, Morty, what about going forward? How can we combat it?
Well, we have to get together with China and use them, and stop being. We create everybody. We always need an enemy. We're the only country in the world that's been in endless wars. We sell the most military equipment. We produce the most military equipment. We export the most armaments and military equipment. And since the Second World War, when we were attacked, we've never been attacked. We're lucky, but we considered that an attack, even though it wasn't on our own land, our own country. It was Pearl Harbor, which was not our land. But that war was justified because we were attacked. But we started the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Iraq War, and the Afghanistan War. None of which we've won. We've lost, priceless blood and treasure. Young people, young American people, our precious future. Our soldiers, our female soldiers. It's outrageous, and for what? Madison said we should only primarily worry about North and South America, our homeland, and not get involved in overseas civil wars, and we can't be the policeman of the world. And also, we're doing $750 billion this year of military, defense spending. It's interesting, they call it defense spending because when I was a kid, the Defense Department was called the War Department, but they didn't think that was a good name for our defense. And they don't have an offense department, and most of our defense spending is offensive. But we should defend against the things that are going to kill us. no congressmen, no senators, a very infinitesimal part of our population has been killed by outside. Uh, Other than 9/11, we've had no killings of our people. But what kills every one of our people is cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. Uh, what killed my wife was Parkinson's, all these things. That's all we should spend the money on. Defense against that. Find cures. If we supported our health system and our research with that kind of money, we'd beat the world. We'd cure every disease, just as we did with Sputnik. We're way behind the Russians. The Russians already had gotten out to outer space way ahead of us. But then we said it's urgent that we made it a crusade. It was our mission, and we gave money to every college, every university, every research department, and we beat them to the moon. Yes, sir. Thank you for your call. I really appreciate it. Call again.
Thank you for the wisdom.
That was nice. He said, "Thank you for the wisdom." At least somebody noticed that I had some wisdom. I got to take a quick drink, even though I gave up drinking when I joined AA. Is anybody on? Do we have any more callers? Hello? What's your name? All right. People refuse to tell their names.
Oh.
Maybe maybe you're
Hello,
embarrassed.
hello,
You don't have to be embarrassed. Tell your
hello,
name.
hello.
What's your name?
My name is Ellie.
Ellie. What's on your mind, Ellie? What do you want to say?
I'm just wondering how we get rid of this oil crisis.
Oh, I thought you were worried, thinking about how you're going to get rid of me. Thank you, Ellie. Well, we
But
should.
I want to just say one thing. How do we do it and keep our air clean at the same time?
Well, just as I finished with the last guy, when we made up our mind to beat the Russians to the moon, we didn't hold anything back. We went for solid fuel, liquid fuel, uh, gaseous fuel, every kind of fuel to see that we get the answer. We gave it to every university, every research department, every corporation that could help us. And if we did that kind of crash program and gave subsidies for people to buy battery charged cars instead of gas cars, our children and grandchildren will laugh at us that we put that fossil fuel, that poison, into our cars, into our automobiles, and for our engines, and introduce so much uh, uh, health issues, asthma, cancer to the world that comes from that exhaustion. So if we took that kind of attitude, the compulsive neurotic attitude, to getting off oil, we have to build the charging stations so people can drive cars. We have to give them subsidies. If you buy a car in China, they give you $9,000 if you buy an electric car. China's going to beat us to everything because they're subsidizing all the important things. They're subsidizing alternative energies, every kind of alternative energy. They've already built charging stations. They spent $15 billion 3 years ago. I don't know what they're spending now. $15 billion for charging stations. They built trains that go 150 miles an hour. We don't have a train in this country that approaches what they've done. So it's outrageous. We have so much talent and so much more resources than any other country in the world, and yet we don't use it properly. Although their answer, the oil companies' answer, and Trump's answer, and most of Congress's answer is drill, 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 baby, drill. That's nonsensical. Instead of let's batten down the hatches and go all out, spend all the money we need and all the energy we need of our people to come up with alternative energy as quickly as we can. It's outrageous. We've been raped, literally raped by OPEC. I don't know how we allow our leadership, because in this country, all those OPEC members would be in jail. You can't fix the price, limit the supply and fix the price and not go to jail. And we let them do it. And they should be eager to sell us the oil. We should say anybody that meets at an open meeting and fixes the supply, limits the supply and fixes the price, we'll never buy a barrel of oil again, even if we have to do rationing, even if we have to do whatever. Like now with the Russian oil not so available, Europe is finding that they're going to have to get along without it, and they'll wind up doing things. So it's outrageous. That's been the OPEC charges and prices that they've charged us has been since 72, 73, the biggest external tax in the whole history of the of humanity. That's never been. Every year, we should, if there was real leadership, we're like, I can't believe it, wimps in letting us be raped like that, and so we have to overcome that. You know what it costs? The what country am I thinking about? Saudi Arabia. What it costs Saudi Arabia to drill a barrel of oil in their country? About $3 a barrel, and now they're selling it for $100 a barrel. They're being flooded with money, and that's all because of OPEC and OPEC Plus. OPEC Plus was what they added when they added Russia. Russia was one of the biggest producers. So even before this war, it went from, amazingly, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, as recently as that, oil was selling for minus $40. They paid you $40 to take a barrel of oil. Why would they pay you to take a barrel of oil? Because they had used up every storage, every tanker, every place in the world where they could store oil, and they don't want to close their oil fields, because once you close it, sometimes you never can open it again, or you lose all the oil. So they paid people to take it, and then right after that, they limited the supply and got together. Initially, Russia was reluctant to join, but Russia joined, and it became OPEC Plus, and they're getting over $100 a barrel now, when it costs them $3 to take out, and even the American countries are having record profits. It's outrageous, outrageous. It's like ripping off the public. When we go to the only way we recognize it, and every citizen, every member of our society notices, when they go to fill up their tank. I asked the bank for a loan because I want to fill up my tank with oil. I'm waiting for with gas. I'm waiting for the bank to get back to me to give me a loan. It's outrageous. Anyway, what else can I help you with? Or what else do you want to say? Ellie, you gone?
We should stop drilling in this country.
Well, now what? We should absolutely figure out how to continuously stop drilling for oil and stop being dependent on oil, and have a crash program. Look, you can't do it overnight, but you certainly don't spend the money to drill for more oil. You spend it for getting every car off gasoline, every electric utility off coal and oil. It's a poison. You wouldn't let your family, if you knew what was happening, use it, be exposed to it, and yet we live with it, and so much of what we die from, cancer and asthma, and so many of the diseases come from this pollution, air pollution, the emissions that are poisonous. So we got to do a crash program. Look, in the Second World War, we couldn't get oil. We had rationing. You had to get ration tickets. You could only buy gas every odd day, some cars, and other cars every depending on your license number, and other cars every alternate date. We manage. Our people would, if you list out people, they like to be involved in solving problems and making sacrifices, but we don't ask our people to make any sacrifices. Second World War, we won the war because everybody sacrificed. They sacrificed their kids in war, and we lost maybe a million. I don't forget the number. We lost so many of our precious young people. So if they're losing their lives, we could at least do without some of the luxuries that we have from using oil and the things that come from oil. Anyway, thank you for your call. I really appreciate that. Call again.
Thank you.
Thank you. At least, uh, Ellie, the last caller didn't attack me. So anyway, I don't mind you attacking me. As I say, I learn the most from the people that disagree with me. Who's on now? What's your name? Hello?
Hello, Morty. This is Howard Fisher calling.
Howard Fisher. Wow. One of the superstars of all time. How are you?
You're good. Do you remember who I am, Morty?
Yeah, you're out of Washington, right?
Well, we met each other a couple of years ago through Ken Rasnick.
Oh yeah. Now I know another Howard Fisher who was out of Washington and urged me to buy the Washington Senators. So anyway, Howard, how are you?
I wish I was that one. So it's good to see you and hear your voice, and I was just wondering if you ever got into the healthcare industry like we were attempting to do a couple of years ago.
Well, Rasnick died and took all my money and owed me $3 million and gave me all kind of guarantees that it would be payable upon his death, and claimed he had all kind of assets. And afterwards, it turned out that he had no assets or didn't have any that I could get any part of. So I lost over $3 million with him. And I'm even talking about the great opportunity that we had, because he started telehealth way back, delivering health to the homes 20 years before anybody. But he wanted it to be perfect, and he would never, conclude building it. So he suddenly died, and that was the end of my expenditures or even my pursuing it, because it was all on him. So no, I'm not doing that. I constantly fund healthcare companies and drug companies and biotech companies, because I want to make sure that we come up. I'd give away all my assets if I could come up with a cure for cancer or heart disease for my kids and my grandkids. So that's why I fund. And I did well over the years, because while I did good, I did well financially. Was trying to do good for the world, but I did at the same time I did well, even though a lot of them were not successes. But the ones that I even funded the fellow who developed the influenza drug, not the influenza, um, what's the one that gave you paralyzed my classmate at Harvard. We collected money for them with the March of Dimes, not influenza.
Jerry Lewis?
No. What was the thing that I funded? The guy who developed the cure for polio.
Jonas Salk.
What was it? What was it called?
Immune response.
What?
Immune response.
No, but it was polio, for polio. Yeah, the cure for polio. Jonas Salk. I funded him.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of work in healthcare and drug, and I did a lot of biotech companies, and that's my proudest accomplishment. not how much money I made or lost. And I did lose money too.
All right. Well, it's good to see you and good talking.
Thanks for calling, Howard. Nice to hear from you.
Likewise.
Danny? Donnie? Oh, Don. Oh, I thought it was a caller. He says they struck me a note. Don. I thought it was Donnie or Danny or something. Okay, I'm all done. Sorry. I'd love to talk to more of you. You're a great audience, and I appreciate your comments, your discussions, your disagreements, your agreements. Thank you again. And next Wednesday, 6:30, if you'd like to be visiting with me and talking to me or attacking me or whatever, I'll be on 6:30 Wednesday every week. Have a great week. God bless you. Bye-bye.